Hi guys, welcome back to The Classy Mommy. I'm Brittany and I'm glad you're here. In today's video, I want to talk about, should you be a teacher? Hi guys, I just wanted to jump in and read this to you. A friend of mine posted it on Facebook and I just felt like it really summed up what being a teacher right now is like. Make sure your students' academic, emotional, psychological, mental, spiritual, physical, nutritional, and social needs are being met, while being careful not to overstimulate, understimulate, or neglect them in a classroom that is plastic-free, processed food-free, negative energy-free, body conscious, socially conscious, mindful, egalitarian but not authoritarian, nurturing but fostering of independence, gentle but not overly permissive, and uses just the right amount of technology. Too much and you'll harm their development, and too little and you won't set them up for their future. Oh, and I forgot a pencil. I thought that was hilarious. And I think that just kind of sums up what being a teacher in 2019 is really like. So if that doesn't scare you, let's keep talking about the pros and cons of teaching and if teaching is for you. Before we start, I have been extremely sick, so you're gonna hear squeaky sounds and raspy sounds, and that's just part of this time of year, I feel like. So let's just jump into it. If you don't already know, I've been a teacher for 11 years in the public school setting. I've done mostly elementary and a little bit of middle school. I knew exactly what I wanted to do as soon as I started being introduced to the idea of what do you want to do when you grow up. I had some wonderful music teachers in elementary, middle school, and high school and college. Excuse me, my mom was a music teacher and I just had music constantly around me in my life growing up. So I knew it was really important to me and I knew I wanted to be a teacher as well. One of the biggest benefits I've seen for my colleagues and peers, I haven't gotten to personally experience it up until this point, is being in a school with your own children. Most of my colleagues and peers who have, their own children are either in our school or have been with them at some point and are now older. And I've just heard them value that so much through the years. Now, my children are very young. They're 3 and 1, so they are not in my school yet. However, I see that that's really a benefit to so many of my colleagues, where they can really, be an advocate and be very knowledgeable of things that are available to their students in the school. Also, they're friends with these colleagues who are, their students' their children's teachers. So they really have a very hands-on understanding of where their children are at and how to better support. Number 2, and really this could be the number 1 thing, is it is really deeply fulfilling to know that you're making huge positive impacts on the world around us through helping children learn and become their best selves. It is incredibly fulfilling and rewarding to see children grow and develop in their learning and their understanding and their critical thinking skills, and just as little tiny humans and little people, and work through friendship problems and emotional things, and learning how to work past discouragement or when they feel like they can't master something and then they do. So that's incredibly rewarding, and I'm sure that most teachers out there will also tell you that they can remember just some really significant times in their teaching career where they were able to help a child overcome something, and that is a really incredible feeling. Number 3, holidays off. That's a really big deal, and it is really, really special and unique to have regular bank holidays off. Of course, a lot of people do have bank holidays off and national holidays, but we, of course, as you know, have summers off. Now, I hear so many people say, oh, you're so lucky, you're a teacher, you have summers off. I think that a lot of people don't realize what that time is, and it's really usually 6 to 7 weeks. So that is really amazing. That really is. And we do get 2 weeks off for Christmas break. That's pretty amazing. We do get a spring break, 1 week off, usually in March. So that is pretty incredible. However, I'll share it with you this way. I have a colleague whose just weekly schedule of classes, he and his principal decided to just load his days. So there was no breaks between any classes, excuse me, no prep times during his days, just back to back to back kids from the second, school started till they were on the bus, just back to back kids. And then he'd have 1 day a week of more of his planning time and lesson planning and office work and all those busy kind of work things that we all have to do no matter what job you're in. And, when he was sharing with us, this schedule with us, at first I thought, oh, that sounds wonderful. And then you know, have a day off and you can just breathe on that day. And he shared it was the hardest year of his career. It's kind of like you're constantly running a marathon, and that little bit of break in your schedule is just barely so you can catch your breath to start running that marathon again. Really not very long term. You know, that doesn't really make sense for being your best teacher self long term if you're constantly feel like you're running marathons and then barely catching your breath. So I will, you know, give that caveat. Yes, we do get a couple weeks off in summer, and I do really appreciate those weeks. However, I would say that a lot of times our schedules are so packed and so crammed, and we have like no minutes a day of our professional day that we really have decisions over, or that we're not 100% on constantly. So during summer break, you know, most teachers that I've talked to, we can barely get out of bed, you know, those first couple of weeks. And that's just being honest, you know, we're just so exhausted by the time we get there. We're like barely trying to catch our breath. And, you know, then we catch our breath and it's nice. And then we have a few weeks with our you know, children and families, and to, you know, travel and just enjoy summer. So that is really nice. So I guess I couldn't say if that's really a pro or a con, but all I can say is that our schedules are so packed and so crammed full, and it's just so demanding that when we get to summer, it's not like, woohoo, it's summer, this is so great. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything for a while because I am so drained. So I will say that, but yeah, it is great having a couple weeks off. That kind of turned into a pro and a con, didn't it? Yeah, it kind of did, but it can be a pro and a con. Yeah. Number 4, I feel like many other businesses and careers are getting better at this, but being a teacher is definitely has the reputation of being very supportive for maternity leave. I do appreciate how there's you know, federal and state laws that help support pregnant, you know, mothers to be able to take that time, and every state is just a tiny bit different. You know, I totally am jealous of some other, you know, countries that have fantastic maternity leave situations. I think it's maternity leave for being a teacher can be really awesome and really stressful. It just depends district to district. I've been in some districts where a significant part of my leave has been compensated so that I, you know, could just focus on my family and children and it wasn't an extra burden. I've been in a district where it wasn't, and you know, I just wasn't getting a salary during that time, and that was, you know, really stressful and hard. So I think it's very different from district to district and from individual, you know, and every district policy is different of how they use their sick leave and pay. So if you are looking into teaching and you're wanting to, you know, start a family, definitely start looking into those things. I definitely did with all the districts that I've been in. Even when I wasn't pregnant, I just wanted to know so I could, you know, plan financially and, you know, make decisions. The reputation I always thought before I had my own children was, oh, being a teacher is so great for having babies because, you know, your medical benefits are so great, and oh my gosh, you get, you know, maternity leave. And then when I became pregnant with my first, I found that was absolutely not necessarily the case. You might get some paid leave. You have the option to take up to 3 months because that's a federal law. They can't not let you take that, but every district handles that differently if it's paid or not. And I'm finding that a lot of districts actually have not very great medical insurance for having children. Having my first and I've only had 2, but my first and my second. My first was on a school district medical policy. My second, I was on my husband's medical, and my first cost us 5 times more than when I had our second on my husband's policy. Yeah, and it would have also been 5 times more on my second pregnancy if I hadn't been on my husband's policy, which was much better. So if that makes sense. Anyways, I know I've talked to so many people, and I myself going into teaching was like, oh, it's so great, and have, you know, having babies, it's great, it's no big deal, it's paid for, you know, you get your leave, it's great. Kind of. Okay, wow, those last 2 points definitely turned into pros and cons. I think that's just, you know, in life, there's a lot of things that aren't just clear cut, black or white, pros or cons. So I think that's relevant to talk about the good parts of those and the more challenging parts that you might not know of. Number 5, the prestige and respect. When someone finds out that you're a teacher, there is a level of appreciation and a level of prestige and respect. I think typically the reputation is that you're, well educated, that you're compassionate, that you are, good with children, that you are, you really give back a lot. And I think that, almost all those things are true most of the time for most teachers. So there is a level of prestige and respect that I definitely feel when I am meeting new people for the first time and, it comes up that I'm a teacher. I do feel like I've gotten some of the, like, oh, wow, that's, sounds like it must be so hard, but how rewarding, or, think just comments like that. So I definitely feel like I am appreciated by those who are not teachers. And of course, as teachers, we appreciate ourselves too. But, I do feel like it brings a level of respect from people that I've talked to. And number 6, this one might just be unique to me, you guys. This probably would not be the case in every school or every classroom. I'm a music teacher. I have an incredible amount of creative freedom. Of course, there's, state and national standards that I have signed a contract to follow and teach my students. So, I'm covering all those basics, but within that, I have so much freedom to teach the kinds of songs that I think would be most effectual for my students, and teach the, the kind of instruments, the way that I would like to, and the songs that I would like to, as long as I'm teaching them the standards that they need to know. I have so much flexibility and creative, freedom to put together concerts and make really fun creative lessons that I feel like will impact my students and spark their little imagination. So I do love that. I will say that some schools and some teachers also have a ton of freedom within their, of course, guidelines of what they need to accomplish with their students. Some schools don't. So if that's really important to you and you're looking into teaching, start looking into and start asking. Teachers will definitely tell you, excuse me, if that is something that's promoted in their school or their district, or something that their district is moving away from. Classroom teaching, definitely look into what's happening in districts around you or districts where you want to teach, because that is a big trend I've seen. I don't see it going away. I see it being modified potentially in the future, but yeah, definitely get as much information on that as you can and figure out if that's going to be a good fit for you, and start looking at which districts do that and maybe which ones don't. So yeah, there's my 2 cents on scripted curriculum. Hi, you guys. I'm going to cut off the video right there with just the pros, and then make sure you subscribe, and you'll see the con video coming out next. And again, just remember, this isn't to dissuade anyone from going into teaching. If it's really in your heart to do, then do it. You have to follow the dreams that are in your heart. It's just an honest conversation of across the board, some of the great things I'm seeing amongst my friends and colleagues, and then some of the things to just be aware of when deciding if teaching is the right profession for you. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.